Shalom Aleichem, everyone. A good Tavach. We're continuing Hach 6, learning of the Pele Yoetz. Today is day 87, and we are going to conclude the chapter of Chashud, of where we suspect others that perhaps their levels of kashrus are not the same as ours, and we should try to avoid, if possible, to eat from their homes. Again, if a person, as you mentioned, is their presence is going to bring such a person joy and make them happy and the like, and if they wouldn't be there, it would be hurtful to them, then a person might sometimes have to put themselves in a situation where they have no choice but to eat. There is a beautiful Maisa with Rabbi Dovid, who is one of the survivors from the Mir Yeshiva that went through Shanghai and the like and came to America. He was a Rosh Yeshiva and he was a big Talmid Chacham. He was a very, very chashuv person. He gave a shir to a group of Balabatim, and some of them were more modern Orthodox than others. And one of those Balabatim was making a siyum on a tractate in Gemara. And he was so excited, and his wife was so excited, that they decided to make the siyum in their home. And his wife cooked up a storm, a gigantic Suda, and they invited the Rabbi Kiviat, to come to the Suda as well. He went with a bunch of his Talmidim, other people that were in that shir as well, and some of his own personal Talmidim from Yeshiva. And they came to the house, and they sat down, and they saw the table was laden from one end to the other with meats and chicken and vegetables and rice and potatoes and kugels, you name it, everything was there. And the Talmidim, the students of Rabbi Kiva were watching, is our Rabbi, who has such a high standard of kashrus, is he going to eat from this woman's table or not? I don't even believe she was covering her hair, and she certainly wasn't on the level of standards of kashrus of him and his family and his wife in his home, or any place that he would eat, and they're watching, is he going to eat or not? So he comes and he sits down, and the balabas who was making the siyum made the siyum, was very, very festive. Everybody washed. They made hamaitzi on the bread, and then they watched as Rabbi Kiviat took his plate and he filled it with some chicken and some meat and some vegetables and some rice and some kugel, and he sat at his place and he ate. And he ate as if it was a regular seudah. Of course, once that his Talmidim saw that the Rabbi ate, so they did the same thing. And when the siyum was over and they left the home, they turned to their great tzaddik Rabbi Kiva, and they said, how is it possible that the Rabbi ate in such a house? The woman doesn't cover her hair. The standards of kashrus certainly are beneath your levels. How could you have eaten there? And he said the following wise words. He said, my levels of kashrus are my standards that I keep in my home and in my life. He said, I am certain that the woman of the house over here has her levels of kashrus as well, and nothing that she served is not kosher. Maybe not on my level, but I'm sure that everything is kosher. And she was so excited over the siyum and the Torah that her husband had learned. And she made this beautiful, lavish meal to celebrate his Torah. How could I not partake of that Suda? If I would not have eaten her food, she would have been so disappointed. She would have been so upset. It would have been hurtful to her. And it would have dampened the simcha of the siyum that her husband made. So although the standards might not be the same, I'm sure that it was still kosher. And for the merit of the simcha that she made such a beautiful, lavish seudah for her husband, for that I ate. Now listen to the words of the Pele Yoetz. Umishu mukhrach leilech, someone that is obligated to go to someone else's house to eat. Al kol panim yaseh atzala porta she'ishalem im nizhar livdagach atalem. If you were able to ask them when they're serving the big bowl of Caesar salad on the table, do you check for bugs, by the way? Okay, so you can ask. V'shelo lahachim chamim b'Shabbos, and if you're there for Shabbos, nice kiddush, and you see the cholent, you know not to turn on the fires on Shabbos or ask the goy to put it on the blech. V'im lo yuchal asay zos, if you can't ask any questions, lefaches yimshach yodam min ha-meichel, at least try to keep your hand away from the meichel, from the food, as much as you possibly can. That they shouldn't sense. Just like push the food around on the plate a little bit, they shouldn't really sense that you are actually not eating their food. HaKadosh should have mercy on you. If you have no choice but to eat, you did an aver lishma, you did a sin for the sake of heaven. Which means that since that you are doing this not to hurt the feelings of the hostess, like the story that I just told you about Rabbi Dovid. So even if the food is not on your standards and your levels of kashrus, since that you did it for the sake lil shem shemayim, Hashem should forgive you. Nevertheless, if you have a way that you could make it, you never eat out of your house. That's your rule. And everybody knows, oh, Yankel over here, he doesn't eat at anybody's house, only his own house. Then that would be an incredible thing. Ki there are many terrible things that happen to a person when they eat outside of their house. When they're around other people, all the lashon hara that gets spoken at the table, all the dvarim b'telim that gets spoken at the table, all the mingling between men and women that takes place at other people's tables. So if you could avoid all of that, you make a rule, a standard rule of thumb in your home. We don't eat anywhere else. That would be the best. Ushas achila shas mechama. The time of eating is quoting the Zohar over here is a time of mechama, of a battle between a person and the Yetzer Hara. Remember, conversations flow into lashon hara. They flow into dvarim b'telim. You're sitting at a Shabbos table, and the next thing you know, you're talking about politics, shtiyot, all these things. And men and women are sitting at the table, and they're one seat away from each other, and they're schmoozing with each other. This is the milchama of the Yetzer Hara going on at somebody else's table. And therefore, if you could keep it to yourself and only eat in your own home, that's better. Because achila shas mechama shas sakon is a time of danger. What a wonderful thing. Who people that don't leave their homes at all to eat. That is what's going to protect them and save them the most. Befrat besudas arashus, certainly for a voluntary meal, meaning not a mitzvah, not a Shabbos, not a Yom Tov, not a Siyum, not a Kiddush, not a Bar Mitzvah, not a Chasana, not a Shevar Brachas. Ha'eder toiv ha'metzius ha'ra. The absence of voluntary meals is much better than the reality of the evils that take place when they are there. Nevertheless, even if you can't avoid eating in other people's homes throughout the year, when it comes to Pesach, yes, everybody can be careful in this instance not to eat outside of their homes. But the aim that's not because of your haughty or the like, not because you're just so makpid, you're so strict about things. People already say the following statement: Pesach, when it comes to Pesach, one brother doesn't even eat by the other brother. Why? Not everybody is as particular and careful in the things that they do to get rid of all the chametz and how they cook the food and the foods that they eat and so on and so forth. Someone who is more careful on the Yom Tov of Pesach, praiseworthy is he for doing such a thing. So when it comes to during the year, you'll have to use your chachma wisely and do what is appropriate in any given situation. If you could make a rule that you never eat anywhere else, okay, you can make such a rule. Very difficult in today's world, but if you could, go for it. And if not, at least on Pesach, you want to be more machmir on yourself and not eat in other people's homes, you're entitled to do that because that's your yiras shemayim of not having an ounce, 1 grain of chametz in your mouth on that holy Yom Tov of Pesach. So you got to have good midah, you see, when it comes to eating, so we should not hurt people's feelings. Rather, if you need to be there to be mesamech them, you'll do it in the right way. All the best.